Hi everyone, in this video I would like to discuss about my unique dyslexia and how it affects me in school and what is my overall experience in school. Basically with my unique dyslexia, as that's literally an example of it. My unique. A lot of times I want to say unique or word and I can't say it. But then I can like say it later on or something. Like I said unique and I was saying like unique or something like that because my like processing of words. Sometimes I can get it real out, like when I'm channeling messages for you guys. It kind of just kind of flows real out, like real smoothly. But usually because it's like I'm not. It's almost like I'm not me. It's like totally like higher consciousness, like collective consciousness, is like using me, like my vessel, to kind of channel through messages. Okay, so a lot of times that sort of access to that collective sort of consciousness does really, I feel like that helps me to be able to communicate better, because it's like I'm like there's this massive like I don't know, like this space, almost like an entire like universe of all this kind of floating around wisdom and ancient knowledge. And I'm literally, when I'm channeling, I'm kind of like, like I'm pulling it in. And while I'm doing that, I'm in this sort of altered state of consciousness. So my dyslexia is actually really, I wouldn't say it's dormant, but it really kind of like hushes it, meaning that part of me, it kind of hushes it when I'm in that altered state of consciousness. Okay, because those that channeled collective uh, wisdom, that universe of knowledge that I'm kind of like just pulling into my body and verbally communicating it outward, it's just it kind of like it overrides my dyslexia, really. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. But right now, I'm not in channeling mode. So right now, my mind, I have a lot of like processing, and I can feel, not just see, but feel. Well, I can see kind of the words kind of in my head jumbling, and I can feel it kind of like a strain in my throat chakra where I'm trying to get out that sort of information, about discussing about my unique dyslexia and how it, affects me in school and overall experience in school. I can have the ideas in my head. Like I just have like vast ideas. Like I have exactly what I want to say and even more. But getting that out without being in that channel mode is like, it's like nothing is overriding that dyslexia. So that dyslexia is kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of like on full force right now. And I really don't like to use that terminology, dyslexic, because, I've been told I was dyslexic since I was like, I'm the first grade. But I feel like I don't know what else to describe what's going on, like my processing of things, because it's so abnormal compared to the other students. And basically, my processing of things, especially in school and how it affects me in school, is I am very imaginative, so that is really the positive side. I'm very, very imaginative. I have a lot of constant ideas. I'm constantly writing down. Like I have journals and journals and journals of ideas of worlds. Like I do a lot of like what people will call a category of science fiction, fantasy. A lot of science fiction, fantasy of just all these worlds, like life on Mars, life on Pleiades, Arcturus, Sirius, Native Americans. I talk about like ancient Lemuria, Atlantis, and like Jesus Christ, and all this kind of um, like I talk about what people see as science fiction or fantasy. I actually feel like these are real events taking place right now somewhere in the cosmos, and that it was actually validated to me when basically I wrote this story about like star beings, and it's basically about a Native American girl named Ella, and she was contacted by this alien race, and she would wake up in the middle of the night every morning and draw on the red rock like their kind of appearance, and she would receive a lot of messages from them that she would give to her tribe people, and then she met them one night in the forest when she was kind of like sleepwalking, like in sort of like I guess an altered state of consciousness where you're not like asleep, but you're not like totally asleep, but you're not totally awake, but you're kind of just like in a daze, like kind of like when I'm channeling, like I'm just like I don't really even remember what I've channeled at all, except some little things. And then she goes in the forest and meets a star being, and basically I wrote that like 3 years ago. I totally kind of forgot about it until I was doing a video for you guys on Hopi people, Hopi Native Americans, and basically I just clicked to me when I discovered the Hopi Indians that this was actually a true event. My guides told me, and it was connected to the Hopi Indians. And I didn't really, I mean, I've heard of the Hopi Indians because of, history class in middle school and high school, but I totally forgot the Hopi Indians. I was more like really just learning about the Cherokee Indians, but the Hopi Indians is where I have the most prominent amount of incarnations, incarnations in with the Hopi Indians. So with my dyslexia, I process things in a very, people would say, science fiction or fantasy kind of mindset, like creative, very imaginative, and it's sometimes it's hard for me in school to kind of structure. Like I said, I have all these kind of stuff going on. Like I said, I have like access to this vast universe of all this knowledge and ideas and actual wisdom and teachings. Just like I feel like it's all of Earth's, like everything Earth has ever experienced, ever learned, ever undergone. I literally can tap into it, anything I choose. But sometimes when, in school, I'm connecting as I'm learning. At the same time, I feel like I'm kind of like in La La Land where I'm connecting to the origin of that knowledge or that teaching that I learned in like biology or something like that. The origin of what, that person has, the information that scientist has gathered. And it just kind of, it's interesting because a lot of times when it comes to school, I question a lot of things because I feel like it's a lot of the information that's being taught, it's kind of at like a halt. It's not truly, I feel like these individuals, like these teachers that are kind of like, they're spitting out information that they've been taught and they're just kind of spitting it out like semester to semester, like to all of these students. And they're not really, like, I feel like there's no sort of, like their mind is not even, like, going anywhere with it. Like, they're not even, like critically thinking about it. It's just kind of, like, just spitting it out, like, oh, okay, this is what I was taught, so this is true, so here, you go. And I feel like I constantly am, like, ask teachers a lot of questions about this information that they're telling us is true, and they kind of like shut me down, like they don't want to answer my question, but I'm merely just asking them, could you elaborate on that more? Not just continue and just kind of rephrase what you're trying to teach me. It's like elaborate on like what how do you really feel about this? Not just feel as in like just your opinion, but like you're using like an imagination in like a creative sort of perspective on how does this sort of thing that you're teaching me, is this really valid today in our current sort of society, or is this just kind of like a stepping stone to something greater? And a lot of people would never, teachers would never say this is just maybe this is not so valid, because people, a lot of times these people have won Nobel prizes for these sort of things that they've discovered. And I feel like every discovery is absolutely important, but when they put it where only these certain things are worthy of a Nobel Prize, or these certain things are worth our time, meaning worth our attention, and all else things are kind of just in the category of like irrelevant, that kind of has, I don't know, I question that. I question that because I truly believe that a true sort of innovative mind, such as anybody, a scientist, anybody, technologist, there's like an innovative mind. And I feel like a true innovative mind, it's when they say they are, I feel like it's very deceiving, or they're deceiving themselves when they're very like closed minded. Meaning they're kind of just set in this path of this is how the world is, this is how this particular subject is, and this is not really flexible. This is how it is. Because I asked my teachers, I'm like, I literally am like, is there another kind of way this could possibly be? Just like, for example, in biology, we were learning about, basically the creation of humans. And I was just like questioning this documentary, and I was just like, I feel like this is like one perspective, but why hasn't anybody come up with any sort of like other theory about the creation of the human, like they say, like we come from like a lizard or something, like we go millions of years even before the dinosaurs and stuff like that. And I feel like a little, I don't know, that's considered a lizard or whatnot, but I can see it in my head, but I just don't know the name of that, which they say is like our earliest ancestor. And I'm thinking like maybe there's other theories, but I feel like with school, what kind of discourages me, it makes me feel really not good, is when teachers indirectly make me feel like my ideas are not worthy of attention. My ideas, it's like they're not good enough, and that's a huge discouragement. And I have to like, I face that, I feel like, on like all the time when I'm like sharing my ideas to my teachers, and they're like, well, you, especially when it comes to writing, I want to write about very sort of expansive topics, and the teachers are like, well, that doesn't really make sense, so I don't think you should go with that. You should go with what everybody else is going with, the topic everybody else is, going that sort of way, because that's how you're going to get the A. If you go the route you're going, you're going to get more like a C or a B or like a D. So that really discouraged me, because that makes me feel like, okay, so if I use my imagination, if I be innovative, I'm going to get a C for that? But if I follow what kind of the guidelines of what everybody else is doing, that means I'm going to get an A. So you see where I'm going with this? I'm in this place in, I guess, my embodiment, my essence, where I want to be as innovative as possible. I want to continue to be imaginative. And that's why I really went to school, so I can broaden my ability to even be more imaginative, be more creative. But school, it doesn't provide imagination. It's more like spits out information, saying that this is information that is true, and this is information that is false, and this is information that's worth our time, and this is irrelevant information. And that, I feel like that has nothing to do with imagination or creativity or being an innovative mind, and that has nothing to do with really progressing our society into a new era. I feel like it just is kind of like keeping us in the same sort of like era that we've been in, like kind of cycling through it. And like I feel like we could evolve so much quicker, um, if the schools were teaching children how to be more imaginative and to embrace their creativity, okay, and not to shun children for thinking thoughts or about things that maybe the majority can't conceptualize, or even the teacher can't conceptualize. I've noticed that if my teacher can't conceptualize the idea that I can, they kind of shun me for it. Like they're like, oh, no, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, you're wrong. But in my head, I feel like there's something there that I ask a question about it, because I want to know the teacher is sort of, what do they get when they conceptualize that sort of theory, concept, or idea. But I come to the teachers, I'm like, dang, I didn't even know that they actually have more limitations on their ability to conceptualize ideas than I do. And they're supposed to be, quote unquote, the master guru or the master teacher, and I'm the student, and they can't even conceptualize far out their ideas. And I just feel like I come across teachers that I do consider like light workers. And when I work with them, I just feel like free. I feel like I can explore the depths of my ideas and my imagination, and I feel like I can reach my fullest potential. Like I can just keep going with it. And of course, they help structure me because, like I said, there's just all this universe of ideas that sometimes it can be like a little all over the place because I just want to get it all out. So I want to get it all out at once. That sometimes I'm like over here, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get to that, and then I go, well, I gotta get to that too, and I gotta get to that too, and I want to get to that. So then I'm like trying to get to everything at once, and then that causes me to be like all like this in my like papers and even like my public sort of speaking. So focusing on like one idea and finishing it, and then going to another idea and then finishing it. That's kind of like a trouble for me because in the process of communicating one idea, this other idea blossoms from communicating that idea. So then I kind of jump to that idea, and then another idea blossoms from that idea, from speaking that idea, and it's like kind of like it's a building block. Like it starts off with this sort of general idea, and then it builds up, and then it builds up, and then it builds up, and it gets more expanded. Also, kind of people I sort of lose people when I start getting building and building and building, get higher and up in my ideas. Because then I start losing people because then they're like, whoa, that's, whoa, that's really interesting idea, but I cannot conceptualize it at all. I cannot see it as possible or real. I just see it as fictional or fantasy or something like that. So dyslexia for me is merely just I just use that name because, the teachers use that, and I can't, go to teachers and tell them, the reason I may, be processing information slower, or the reason I'm not good at tests is because I'm extremely imaginative and creative, and I don't really function well when I'm like being just told to just kind of spit out information that I can't tie it to anything. It's just kind of like information that is just kind of not doing anything, just like taking a test and just doing it for the fact to get an A. But it's not expanding myself, like my capacity to think broader. Because like some information I feel like it's just knowing facts, but not knowing how to tie it into anything, or not knowing like how just like kind of just spitting facts in like a test. I'm never really good at that because in my mind, I want to kind of be able to take this sort of information, and if there's no way for me to kind of like expand on it, like I feel like the way the test is, it's very limiting, like restricting, like it's the test format is like this, like this is like the way of how things are, and this is how it is, and this is a fact. Like it's like not an open-ended sort of question, meaning the test, it's very like closed minded. I don't know how to word this, but like closed in the fact where it's like there's no like opening to kind of expand on this sort of facts or proven discovery or something. Then I don't really like do well. I do best on tests where I can kind of, when they ask questions about your, not sort of your opinion, but sort of they're giving you information and you're kind of like expanding on it. You're elaborating on that information, taking something and kind of discovering something else. Like taking these kind of things, these theories or concepts, and using your critical thinking and putting them together and discovering something new out of it. Because I'm always good at that, discovering something new out of taking two pre-existing theories or concepts, putting them together and discovering something new. That's what I'm really good at. But they don't really do tests on that sort of thing. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, my dyslexia and how it affects me in school. And I just feel like I just have so much in my mind, in my imagination, and my creativity kind of, it's so much that I feel like I have like processing just like what teachers are telling me, it can be very hard because of my mind and like in La La Land, and I'm processing like I'm taking that information and I'm processing it in a different way, but then when teachers tell me to kind of spit out the information they taught me, I can never spit it out because somehow I've transformed the information they've given me into something else entirely. So what I spit back is the information that I transformed into that something else entirely thing. But then I spit it back and they're like, that's incorrect. But I'm like, but that was just me kind of expanding on the already theory or concept. But they're like, well, that's not, they're like, well, you're not supposed to do that. You can only give stuff that's proven true or proven fact by like a community of PhD people or something. And then again, that makes me feel like crap because I'm like, well, so you're telling me that none of my ideas are worthy unless I have a PhD? And then again, that they say, well, she's dyslexic, so that's kind of her. We're not going to shun her too much because her strange processing of information is because she's dyslexic. I mean, that's okay. We won't be so hard on her for sharing her ideas or expanding off of pre-existing ideas and kind of just sharing her ideas that we as teachers don't believe is accurate because she's a student. She don't got no PhD, and she just got dyslexia, so that's probably why she's doing that or something like that. So yeah, school is kind of a challenge for me. I really enjoy school, but it's not helping me to be more imaginative and creative. It's just kind of helping me. It kind of feels like it's more holding me back, like restrains, like trying to, like just kind of pull me back and try to keep me in, like being like everybody else and keep me following these guidelines that everybody else is following, this path, but that path is like, it's not going anywhere creative. It's not going anywhere imaginative. I mean, I don't really see in the film community. In the film community, I don't really see any sort of deeply innovated ideas in the film. And that's kind of like the area I want to get in. Even in like music, I hear like pop, I hear kind of like the same sort of stuff going on. It's because everybody's just following each other. And even in school, they like want you to follow each other. But I'm like, how are we going to change the world if everybody's just following each other and they don't even know what they're following and they're just like following whatever. They're not even trying to think of anything new or fresh. They're just trying to just do what already exists. But I'm like, I don't want to just spit out facts that already exist. I want to take those facts, absorb it, critically think on it, an idea blossoms, and then share the product of the idea blossoming from the fact that was given to me. Not just, here's a fact and then spit out the same fact. Like, how is the world going to change if teachers are just, like, giving me facts and then they just want me to spit out the same facts? That's going to just be an ending, like a revolving door that's not going anywhere. What it should be done is the teachers they kind of give me the facts, they have me critically think about it, be imaginative about it, be as creative about it, and then a light bulb comes on about a new idea that blossoms from that pre-existing fact, and then give the teacher that sort of idea that's blossomed from that fact. And then bam, you have sort of a new theory or a new fact or sort of something fresh and new that could potentially lead to going down a totally new avenue that's never been explored before, but that totally new avenue could actually lead to something monumental. If only, they were willing to not discourage people to go down the avenue that's never been walked down before. So, just wanted to share that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and discussion, so bye.